Welcome to the premiere episode of the Southwest Florida Strong podcast, brought to you by CONRIC PR and Marketing. I'm your host, Connie Ramos-Williams, and I look forward to connecting you with some of Southwest Florida's leading businesses, nonprofits, and individuals who will share their valuable insights, news, and events within our community. Why are we doing Southwest Florida Strong podcast? Because together we are Southwest Florida Strong. Be sure to tune in to the Southwest Florida Strong podcast on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month at 10 o'clock. It'll air on the Southwest Florida Strong Facebook group as well as conricpr.com. Today, our guests include attorney Alex Menendez of Pavese Law Firm, Casey Shulberg of Calusa Waterkeeper, and Chelsea Castoria of CONRIC PR and Marketing. Now, I would like to introduce our first guest with us, Alex Menendez. He's an attorney with Pavese Law Firm who will be discussing what homeowners and residential communities can do to improve water quality right here in Southwest Florida. And we all know how important water quality is to our livelihood right here. Alex, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Connie. It's great to be here.
I've got a question for you. The first question that was submitted. What role do homeowners play in the big picture of water quality here in Southwest Florida?
Okay, so that is a great question. And I know on the news, often you hear about the bigger policy issues that are being kicked around and rulemaking. And a lot of that is very critical, very important. There's a lot of very well-educated people on both sides of this that are taking care of the problem. But what you can do as a homeowner more than anything is to do your part on a local level and to basically take responsibility for your own pollution. And we really have, as it is now, a very rigorous sort of set of laws and permits. And really what we often ask is that people simply just do what they're already supposed to do, very obvious kind of things. And a lot of times that can help preserve not only the water quality in Southwest Florida, but also the property values as well. So it's a very self-serving kind of thing to do. Perfect examples of that might just be not messing around with your surface water management system and not violating any fertilizer ordinances or really putting anything into the water that really shouldn't be there.
Thank you, Alex. You mentioned surface water management. I don't think very many of us are familiar with surface water management. Can you explain what that is and how it relates to clean waters in our communities?
Absolutely. And I think to most people, they are more familiar with the very pretty lakes in their golf course community than they are with the concept of surface water management. And again, there's a lot of very much smarter than me people out there in the world that are handling those kinds of issues. But for a lot of communities, really it comes down to a system of retaining and detaining water. So it's not just about having a ditch so that all the water that falls in your community and on your roads and your sidewalks doesn't just flush out and into your neighbors' properties, but it's also about detaining that water and basically hanging on to it as long as it would normally last on that property in nature, so that there's time for particles, for oil, for all kinds of phosphorus to drop out of that water before it's reintroduced back into our preserve areas and our wetlands.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you elaborate a little bit on what some of the common practices that homeowners may be doing that may be causing more harm than good when it comes to our water quality and environment? Is there a way we can all be greener around our home?
I can't tell you how many demand letters I've sent out addressing that question. There are all kinds of ways that people generally, when a lot of times just leaving the system in place is the best way to preserve it. But when you have people that go and mow their lawn too close to the lake and take out those somewhat not so good looking plants that do a very important job of cleaning out the water before it hits the wetland, or not picking up after your pet, really any of those berms in your communities, just leveling those or not really ensuring that you're lake maintenance easements, those areas next to your neighbor's house and your house where people love to put fences that they're really not supposed to put fences. Yep. Those kinds of things are really the ways that you can impair your surface water management system. And oftentimes they're one of the biggest causes of individual pollution of our water quality.
Alex, thank you for those tips and advice today. We appreciate everything we can learn about water quality in our community, which will help us. And there's some things that are not in our control, but there are a lot of things in our control. And I love what you said when you first started. We each have to take responsibility when it comes to water quality right here in Southwest Florida. So thank you for joining us today. We'd love to have you back on another time as a guest. Joining us for our Southwest Florida Care segment is Casey Shulberg, the Executive Director of Calusa Waterkeeper. Thank you, Casey, for being on our first episode of the Southwest Florida Strong podcast. Being a Florida native, I know how important the water is to our lifestyle here in Southwest Florida. It's the allure that brought us here from the Miami area. Can you tell us about Calusa Waterkeeper's mission of fighting for drinkable, fishable, swimmable water, and why you think it's so important to protect our waterways and our environment?
Hi, Connie. Nice to be with you this morning. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I mean, as you said, in Southwest Florida, the quality of our water is absolutely essential to our recreation, to our livelihood, to our economy, to our public health. So 2018, we saw dual outbreaks of red tide and blue-green algae, which just affected everything. People were on bread lines, the beaches closed down, and people couldn't go out. They couldn't enjoy the water. People were coughing and sneezing, and it also has wide-ranging public health impacts. We're now finding out more and more about the public health consequences of these water quality issues. So we're fighting every day to try to preserve and restore the waterways that are so essential to our way of life down here and to our enjoyment of Southwest Florida. So thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do.
You're welcome. We're happy to have you here. You know, one of the things that we recognize too is Southwest Florida is not the only area that deals with water quality issues. Although it is where we happen to work and play. So we're fortunate to have Calusa Waterkeeper and other great organizations here in our area to help fight and protect and preserve our waterways. To protect and preserve our water quality, I believe it's important for all of us to take the responsibility to do our part to help keep clean water in our area. Can you tell us a little bit about how we can individually get involved in the mission to keep clean water here in Southwest Florida?
Yeah, we can. In fact, we work on a lot of different levels. We have 84 citizen scientists, rangers, that have gotten some science training on basic hydrology and water quality issues, and also on advocacy. So they can represent us at town halls and meetings with elected officials. Sometimes they talk to the media, and they've really allowed us to amplify our efforts because we're a tiny little organization. But with the help of the rangers who test the water every month, we can expand our reach. So we're really indebted to the 84 rangers. But there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot that individuals can do, and I'm finding so many people who just care about the water and say, "What can we do? Well, how can we help improve the conditions in our community?" So we're happy to share that information. It's on our website. It's on our Facebook page.
What is the web address for your website?
It's just calusawaterkeeper.org.
Very good. Very good.
That's CALUSA.
Very good. Tell us a little bit about the Ranger program. If somebody wants to be more active with Calusa Waterkeeper, that Ranger program, I think when I spoke to you a few years back, you had maybe 15, 20 Rangers. You're up to now, what, 80 something Rangers?
Yeah, 84. That's been a really amazing program. It started shortly after we became members of the Waterkeeper Alliance. You know, the International Waterkeeper Alliance is the largest clean water nonprofit in the world, and they're on 6 continents, 340 chapters. So we started 25 years ago, as Calusa River Citizens Association, CRCA, but we joined the Waterkeeper Alliance. It just seemed to make sense to be part of a larger organization. We joined the Waterkeeper Alliance in 2016, and we started the Ranger program almost immediately after joining the Waterkeeper Alliance. So we started with 5 Rangers, and every year it's grown, and we get a lot of people interested in doing this because some people just want to get a little bit more involved. It's kind of a mid-zone between volunteers and our staff and our board for people to get involved. And we're just finding it's a tremendous program. We're going to do another Ranger training session either the end of this year or early next year. So you can stay tuned for that, and we'll announce it on our Facebook page. But the Rangers basically allow us to test 17 points in our watershed every month, publish those results on Facebook. We're doing a deep dive on 2 areas of our community in the next 6 months. One is Billy's Creek, which, as you know, runs in just sort of north downtown Fort Myers. It ends up where the Wink News Station is. And it runs from a sort of agricultural area through the Dunbar community. And then it empties into the Calusa River, right where 2 big luxury condos are. So it's an interesting body of water. It's been contaminated for fecal bacteria for 20 years. So we're developing a program to try to restore Billy's Creek. It was once a beautiful creek. Edison used to enjoy it back in sunnier times when it was really beautiful and sandy bottom. And now it's really highly contaminated. And we think there's a social justice component to that because it does run through the Dunbar community, which is, a disadvantaged community. They always seem to get it in the neck. So we're working hard to try to clean up Billy's Creek for that community and for Fort Myers. And we're also doing a study on the Estero Bay region. This year will mark the 30th anniversary that the Estero Bay tributaries were designated outstanding Florida waters. So we're going to do a movie about that and a kind of deep dive on the Estero Bay and the Estero Bay tributaries, which is kind of South Fort Myers. And
you have an event coming up to celebrate that anniversary of Estero Bay, right?
We do.
And a great gala.
Yeah, the 14th of November, we're going to do a live movie premiere of the movie we're producing right now. And we're going to have a live guest in the studio and silent auction items. And we're all going to talk about how we can restore Estero Bay. And it really impacts not only all of our region and Lee County, but directly Estero Village, Fort Myers Beach, and Bonita Springs. Those are the 3 communities that surround Estero Bay and live along its tributaries. So we're going to do a thorough examination of that area and try to welcome people into that that cause of restoring the tributaries.
Well, I'll make sure I tune in. I understand it's a virtual event, so people will be able to join you on Zoom to get to see this documentary, participate in a silent auction, and just learn the history and the current situation with the Estero Bay and all the tributaries. And there's so many neighbors, so many people we know that live along that waterway. I would think you'll have a lot of people participating in that event just to learn more about how they can also keep the clean water in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're driving around, whether it's on 41 or 75, you don't really put all the pieces together. You don't see how all these waterways that you might drive over a bridge, or if you're a fisherman, you might have traveled up. But I was on just in the last week, I've been on Henry Creek, on Spring Creek, on Mullet Creek, and there are 9 tributaries to the Estero Bay. And it's interesting to put all these little puzzle pieces together and see how it all works as a whole, and how the quality of the water in those tributaries directly impacts Estero Bay, which was the first aquatic preserve in Florida in 1966. And then the knock-on effect is it affects the quality of water in our Gulf. So everything is interconnected, and we got to kind of solve the root problems so that all of the successive problems start to dissolve away. This is our mission, and this is what we're really very, very focused on trying to solve these problems.
Casey, well, we hope you keep up the great work, because obviously The water quality is important to each and every one of us out here in Southwest Florida. So thanks for everything you're doing. Thanks to John Casani and your team over at Calusa Waterkeeper. And thank you for joining us today on Southwest Florida Strong Podcast. We appreciate having you as a guest. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Connie, it's been my absolute pleasure. And thank you for all you do for Southwest Florida. It's really amazing what CONRIC does to invest and improve our quality of life down here. I salute you.
Well, thank you, Casey. Next up, joining us for our Southwest Florida marketing segment is Chelsea Castoria, a digital marketing coordinator here at CONRIC PR and Marketing. She's going to help us know our media. Welcome, Chelsea.
Hey, Connie, thanks so much for having me. I am so excited to be on the very first episode of the Southwest Florida Strong Podcast. So here is your marketing tip. There are 3 types of media you need to know about when creating your marketing strategy: earned, owned, and paid. All right, let's start with earned media. This is media that you grow organically. You shouldn't be spending any money on this media. Think Yelp customer reviews, Google customer reviews, press releases, local media coverage, and of course, engaging social media pages are all examples of really great forms of earned media that can help your business. Not only do they boost brand awareness, but it also can position you as a thought leader in your industry. Now, this is all about growing organically, right? So online communities that follow your brand, much like the Southwest Florida Strong Facebook group follows CONRIC, they're a great tool for you to use because word of mouth is still one of the oldest and most trusted forms of advertisement to date. Lots of people garner earned media through charity work that they do in the community, so it actually pays to get involved on a local level. And since you aren't paying for this, you're likely going to have a high ROI, which is also called a return on investment. So many consider this the most cost-effective form of media. Now, owned media is something that you create and control yourself. We're talking your blogs, your YouTube pages, websites, newsletters, email blasts, and yes, even this podcast falls under owned media. It gives you more control over your brand messaging, but the downside is that your target audience may consider it less trustworthy than less biased earned media. However, if you have a great reputation in your community, this is totally going to negate that. This also positions you as a media source in your industry. People can share the content that you create, which spreads your brand message and establishes credibility. Finally, paid media. As you can imagine, this is media you paid for. Traditional advertisement is print, radio, television. Businesses use all of this as part of their marketing strategy to create brand awareness, website traffic, and of course, increase revenue. Now, the internet has totally expanded paid media to do cost per click marketing on search engines, boosted posts on social media sites, paid streaming videos. I mean, seriously, the possibilities are absolutely endless. So make sure you know exactly what you're putting your money towards, because most business owners make the mistake of only relying on one of these forms when you should be using a combination of all 3. Good thing we can help you with that at CONRIC PR and Marketing. Make sure you follow our blog for more marketing advice at conricpr.com. I'm Chelsea Castoria with the Southwest Florida Marketing Tip.
I hope everyone enjoyed connecting with our guests today. Don't forget to tune in next time. We air on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month at 10 o'clock. You can tune in right on the Southwest Florida Strong Facebook group page or on conricpr.com. If you have any comments, any questions, or would like to be a guest on our next podcast, please shoot me an email at info@conricpr.com. That's info@conricpr.com. Until next time, stay Southwest Florida strong.